Yes, sir, we have a...
The subcommittee will be called to order. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the House Armed Services Military Personnel Subcommittee markup for H.R. 5515, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2019. The subcommittee mark in front of you is a product of an open and bipartisan process. The mark provides our warfighters, military families, and retirees the care and support they need, deserve, and have earned. Specifically, this year's proposal would continue to rebuild and grow the armed forces, including an increase in strength for the military services and an extension of special pay and bonuses for service members in high-demand fields. Additionally, in an effort to address the persistent pilot shortage, the mark requires the Air Force to evaluate all pilot staff requirements to maximize pilots' time in the cockpit. Similarly, the mark extends the National Guard recruiting pilot program, which is designed to use retired senior enlisted members to fill recruiter positions so that current National Guard soldiers can focus on their primary mission. The mark would also improve the transition assistance program to ensure transitioning service members receive training and resources that are specifically tailored to their post-military career plans. In addition, the mark would require a comprehensive review of both wounded warrior care and mental health care services to ensure service members receive the best possible medical treatment. Finally, the proposal would continue to provide oversight of critical issues, including directing the Department of Defense to improve the process for reporting crimes to the FBI database, requiring Department of Defense schools to improve their tracking of juvenile misconduct, and refining sexual assault prevention and response to better assist victims. In conclusion, I want to thank Ranking Member Spear and her staff for their support of this process. Of course, we are joined by an active, informed, and dedicated group of subcommittee members. Their recommendations and priorities are clearly reflected in this mark. Before we get to consideration of the mark, I want to recognize Ms. Spear for any remarks she might want to make.
Thank you, Chairman Kaufman, and I too would like to reflect on the fact that this has been a bipartisan committee. We've worked closely together. I think have done a good job of doing the oversight charged to this committee and also building this particular mark. The subcommittee mark includes provisions that will provide the military service flexibility to manage and retain a quality force, improve transition assistance for service members and their families, and continue our commitment to taking care of military families. The mark increases transparency from the Department of Defense by requiring DoD and the military services to publish on a public website redacted reports of substantiated investigations of senior leadership misconduct. The mark also includes requirements to improve crime reporting by requiring DoD to establish a central oversight system to ensure data is transmitted to the FBI database that would prohibit the purchase of a firearm. The mark also provides support for victims of sexual assault by authorizing expedited transfer to another military academy for cadets, requires standardization across the services for expedited transfers when a family member is a sexual assault victim, and requires DoD to establish a comprehensive oversight plan for the implementation of the department's new harassment and prevention policy. I'm pleased that the mark continues to ensure the department continues to focus on the treatment and research of traumatic brain injury, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and post-traumatic stress disorder, and other mental health issues. It requires DoD and the services to report to the committee on the military health system's plan to continue to provide treatment, care, and research for TBI, CTE, PTSD, and the other mental health issues as the military treatment facilities transition to the Defense Health Agency. Lastly, I want to acknowledge and thank the staff's efforts. Craig Green, Jamie Jackson, Dan Sennett, Dave Cicchetti, Glenn Deal, and Danielle Stites, who continue to work in a bipartisan manner to develop this mark. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Ranking Member Spear. We will now proceed to mark up H.R. 5515, the National Defense Authorization Bill Act, for fiscal year 2019. Without objection, the first reading of the bill is dispensed with. Copies of our subcommittee mark and directive report language were made available to and distributed to member offices on Tuesday, April 24th. Is there any discussion or questions on the subcommittee mark? If there is no further discussion, the chair lays before the members the text of the subcommittee mark for consideration. Without objection, the mark is open to amendment at any point. Are there any amendments to the subcommittee mark? The question now occurs on the adoption of the mark. So many as are in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the mark is adopted. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Ohio, Dr. Winstrup, for the purpose of a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the subcommittee report the mark favorably to the full committee.
The question is on the motion of the gentleman from Ohio, Dr. Winstrup. So many as are in favor will say aye. 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 Those opposed, no. A quorum being present, the ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. And without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Without objection, members have 5 legislative days within which to submit written statements into the record. So ordered. I also ask unanimous consent that staff be authorized to make necessary conforming technical and clerical changes and to remove from the mark provisions that would cause the mark to refer to other committees or would result in an additional direct spending or would result in an earmark. Without objection, so ordered. There being no further legislative business before the subcommittee, this committee is adjourned.